From Swoop, it's Take the Plunge, a podcast about how business owners decided to stop what they were doing and took the plunge to start their own business. We take a look at how they came to that decision and what those first crucial steps were in getting their businesses up and running. My name's Kieran. I'll be your host for this episode. Here's what you can expect on today's episode.
That digital nomad community is becoming far more present online. So, there are plenty of Slack channels, plenty of even old school Facebook groups, forums, places you can chuck a job post up for free and get a surprisingly large amount of response from really quality candidates that you can then vet.
Today, I'm delighted to be joined by Paul David and William Gadsby Peet, co-founders of Literal Humans. Literal Humans help brands build a content marketing strategy that's future-proof and speaks to customers the way they do, like real people with real voices. Paul and William, you're very, very welcome on today. Thanks very much for joining us. How are you doing, both of you?
Doing well. Thanks for having us.
Great. Well, if I could take you back in time for a moment, if you could both let me kind of know what you were doing before you decided to set up Literal Humans and kind of how you guys both came to that decision, that would be kind of great to hear.
Yeah, happy to kick us off, Will. First of all, thanks for having us, Kieran. Really appreciate the opportunity to chat. And before Literal Humans, Will and I were both working in different facets of digital marketing. I'll let Will explain his side, but on my side, I've been working at another agency for about 2.5 years and had sort of been like the number two in the agency, done a lot of operational work, done some writing, helped build the agency from about like $500,000 ARR a year to 1.5 million in about 2 years. And just got to see some really cool B2B SaaS clients, got to work on some cool projects, and just felt like I was kind of hitting my ceiling in the agency. I wasn't the founder, so I couldn't shape the agency exactly the way I wanted. And also the pandemic happened, so we lost a ton of clients at that previous agency. So I just sort of said, hey, let's take an opportunity to use a crisis for what it's worth and start something new. And then reached out to Will and said, hey, you want to start an agency? And Will and I had got to know each other through digital marketing circles. He was a potential client at this previous agency, and we ended up just getting a pint and becoming mates. So
I think a pint tends to be common ground for a lot of new businesses.
We actually met through the power of content marketing, which shows that it works. Like the previous agency Paul worked at, they were doing a classic content play where they offer like a free ebook, and all you've got to do to get the ebook is give them your email address. So I'd seen some of the work of the agency, was impressed, gave them my email address, to get access to the book. And then Paul messaged me like 2 days later being like, hey, I'm in London. Can we talk about whether Lucky Voice Karaoke needs any content marketing? I was like, we definitely don't. But if you want to go for a pint, if you want to go for a pint anyway, I'd be more than happy to. And sort of kicked off a friendship from there.
And I suppose that's quite an interesting thing just to dig into for a second. How did you find starting a business in two different countries?
Oh, yeah. I mean, at first, I started with the intention of moving back to the UK. So I was just, spending time with family during the first lockdown. I'm from Philadelphia originally, so that actually gave me, something to focus on, and just really both of us, I imagine, like we're bored in some ways and also looking for new opportunities during the lockdown. So it was a really good time to apply yourself with all that extra time. So, and then, like the first few months were pretty slow going. We sort of had, frequent conference calls, and we're like figuring out strategies just to get the website up and running and start to bring in some business and things like that. And then I want to say around like August or September of 2020, I shipped over to the UK and the wheel started moving. We started to get our first few clients and things like that. And I think we kind of hit the market at the right time as folks' marketing budgets were coming back online, and we were picking up speed in terms of building a team and kind of structures and things like that. So it wasn't terribly hard, I don't think, with all the tools we have today to sort of work together and communicate. So
I was just saying, while me and Paul are now both in London, the rest of our team is distributed across pretty much every time zone on the planet. So we've kind of very much built remote first with a fully distributed team. And yeah, I mean, it's way less of a problem than we, to be all honest, thought it was going to be when we started the agency. With all the tools available to you now to collaborate around, the only thing that is sometimes a bit difficult is trying to sync up time zones. But seeing as mostly it's America and European clients, it's really not that difficult. The only time you ever really run into problems is if you're trying to sync up sort of America and Australia and Asia. Other than that, it's fine for the group calls. And yeah, all the collaboration tools to work sort of asynchronously have really made it not that difficult at all.
Nice. I suppose one thing I'm kind of just curious about, obviously in those nascent kind of couple of months, you're figuring out your strategy, but you're also talking about how you're presenting yourself to the world, which kind of crucially from an agency perspective is getting the website, get the case studies looking nice, getting that all in place. Are you guys both a fait with working with websites, building it out, putting kind of CMS behind things, or was that something you're like, not my bag, outsource it?
So yeah, I am. I mean, we both are, but I sort of built our kind of prototype website just so we had something to send clients towards. The first thing we spent any real money on was the website, and we got the best designers we knew, who are now the two creative directors at the agency. Got them to work together to kind of help us build a real brand, build a real a 20 sort of page website design, and then just had it implemented in dev. So we kind of did a bit of both. Like it was first, I kind of put something together that was good enough with my sort of limited content and development skills on WordPress, and then we got some professionals in to really make the website what it is today.
One thing I'm also fascinated about when you're kind of trying to launch an agency in this space is obviously you've seen there's probably a different way of doing things from your own personal experience, but then you have to balance that against trying to get your first clients through the door. So kind of how focused were you on this is our niche, this is what we do, versus let's get up and running with client ABC?
Yeah, I mean, that's a tricky one because, you're just so thirsty for work that, you go out there and, yeah, I mean, I think we came in with like an initial idea of, like focus on, core bread and butter, SEO optimized, like blog content. And that was sort of coming from, I think, some of the previous agency work that I've done. And, I think work that Will's just seen work well in the field. But then, clients hit you with different requests and things like that. And you're like, sure, we can do that. And I think given our agency model, like we kind of operate as a freelance collective, we're able to pull in people quickly who could sort of service that client. But I think after doing like a year of that, you're like, okay, we kind of need to niche down a little bit and pick specific areas where we know we have, a core team and things. So I think we definitely found ourselves in that classic agency position at first of, okay, we can be sort of, everything to anyone because we need to boost our ARR. And we did. And there were some hits and some misses. And I think we'll be the first to be honest with you about that as our agency name suggests. But yeah, you do what you need to do to get off the ground, and then you build a better ship, I guess.
Yeah, I think we made the same mistakes every agency does at the beginning. Not just taking on clients from any niche, but also just like at price points that just did not make sense because we were just so eager to get the business to start. But yeah, one thing I was saying, like we've definitely, as we've grown, kind of developed, we've kind of got better at both. Like we have sort of a bread and butter that we look for, like we are very much into mission-driven brands, people that do good in the world, B2B SaaS, non-profits. But we've also just got better at kind of putting the systems and processes in place that, if someone does come to us, say from like, the cannabis sector, which has some very specific regulations on it, some very specific, things you need to know to create content for. We've got that globally distributed team of freelancers, so we can actually build a custom team for each client, which is definitely one of the strengths, I think, of our agency model. If you have the centralized team of 20 people and you've got Bob, your copywriter, and Bob does copywriting for everything from H to H SaaS to B2B venture capitalist funds. He's a bit of a jack of all trades. He doesn't specialize in anything. Whereas when we get a new client in an industry that needs it, we'll go, all right, we don't want a copywriter. We want a, specialist in this industry. And we're also going to get an SEO strategist that is a specialist in this industry with a proven track record. And you actually end up building these teams that, are almost the perfect team for that client and its industry rather than just kind of the best you can put together with your own resources.
And Will, how do you find kind of recruiting for that kind of have you guys just being able to leverage off your own kind of network within the industry to be able to go, I'm a VC and I need to improve my content, therefore I know not Bob but Charlie or whoever is able to do that? Or has there been kind of different pathways you've gone down that enables you to easily access a network of freelancers for kind of niche type requests?
Yeah, I mean, we kind of flex our own. The first port of call is always our own group of writers. You know, we have a Slack channel with you know, not just writers, but all of our freelancers in. And, you know, we'll just throw out to the team, hey, does anyone know a person in this that they could recommend? You know, at first, when there was only sort of 10 people we were freelancing with, that didn't work that well. Now that you've got a couple hundred people in that Slack channel, suddenly it's, you know, it's a very good first place. We've also found that, you know, that digital nomad community is becoming far more present online. So, you know, there are plenty of Slack channels, plenty of even old school Facebook groups, forums, places you can chuck a job post up for free and get a surprisingly large amount of response from really quality candidates that you can then vet.
And then I suppose internally then, what kind of roles have you started to identify as crucial roles for Literal Humans as you've kind of got up and running as a business that are like essential parts of the business name?
Yeah, we've just brought on, just a few months ago, brought on like a, you know, core like operations person who's, you know, we call it a content strategist, but their role is content operations, project management, just like making sure everything from, you know, putting together the editorial calendars to writing the briefs to kind of, you know, chasing designers and writers and team members for, you know, work that is needed to be done. So that was a very, very crucial role. And then I think, you know, the role of the creative director that Will mentioned before, just having kind of a senior designer to kind of oversee the work of, you know, really all the team, whether it comes to our own brand integrity, but also maintain the brand integrity of our clients. That's really important. People with really strong, you know, brand and design aesthetics, I think. And then I think, you know, just like finding really good writers, really good designers, people who can flex from, you know, different brands and industries and tones of voice and things like that. That continues to be really tricky, especially in, I think, a labor market that is like just flooded with like new talent and folks who are like, hey, I'm leaving this full-time job and I want to be a freelancer. And they're showing up with a website and a portfolio that, you know, would seem to match what people have been doing for the past 10 years, maybe, but not necessarily, you know. So I think that's a really interesting thing that's happening with talent right now that we're trying to navigate.
Yeah, I'd say like probably the biggest downside for our own personal sanity of our model is, you know, we have this internal team, which we're very happy with, you know, kind of growing that team of like 5 to 10 people, but we never really stopped working at building that ecosystem of great writers. So it's, you know, you never get to a point where you think, cool, well, we don't need to recruit anymore. Like we're always still trying to find better writers, better designers, better SEO folk that we can get in touch with and build into that kind of agency distributed ecosystem.
And how do you find kind of like qualifying them? Is that kind of pretty heavy duty manual process, or do you use any kind of systems to be able to kind of get them in one place, kind of go through their attributes, whether it's a website, a portfolio, whatever it might be? How do you find that process?
Yeah, I mean, at least for writers, we do well, what we do is for designers as well, like a paid test project, which we think is really important because, frankly, a lot of other places, like they just, you know, ask you to hand in free work, or, you know, they look at your portfolio, or it's about your connections and things like that. So we find the test project thing to be a bit more fair and a bit more relevant to the work that we actually do, because we actually give them, you know, active client work that, you know, we sort of, you know, farm out to them at a set rate. And then, yeah, we look at their portfolio, we lean on the expertise of our team, you know, whether it's a referral or something like that. But we think it's important to like get them actually into the actual work that we're doing and make it super relevant and timely, and then see how they do. And then kind of like, you know, keep a loose bench of folks who are, you know, we've vetted. And then when we match them to a project, bring them on to a specific project. And we find, like, I found that as a freelancer when I was on the other side of it to be a huge benefit to kind of hang with a group of talented people. And then when the right project comes my way, rather than just sort of being a freelancer out in the wilderness on your own and just like, you know, chasing down work. So,
yeah, because I get the sense from you guys, just even by talking about getting from 10 people in your Slack group to 100 people, 200 people in the Slack group, not only obviously are you increasing the chances of getting quality work through, but what you're actually doing is creating a community of like-minded individuals that not only want to share and contribute to the work side of things, but actually they're probably benefiting from each other in terms of being in that community. So from a freelance perspective, they're less isolated, I suppose they feel. So has that been something that you're kind of noticing, a kind of added benefit, I would say?
I think like quite a lot of our strategy that we're putting together for 2022, like, is the standard agency stuff of how can we land more business. But the other second half of pretty much everything we're going to focus our efforts on next year is, how do we help support our freelance team, make them feel like more of a community, more of a family, take away as many of the downsides of a distributed model as we can, to, just make them feel like, I want to work with literal humans because I actually like them and I feel like they take care of me.
One thing you kind of mentioned earlier on, Will, was that when you were kind of up and running, and I kind of hear this many times before, is getting pricing and not putting probably a fair enough price on the work and effort you're putting into it. How much is that a case of just wanting to win the work or needing time to understand the model better? And now are you kind of more comfortable with how you price and model up the work you do going forward?
I think it's a bit of both. I mean, you're just so desperate at the start to like land anything that you just you underplay in your head what things will cost, and you just then need that experience of going, it would be better off doing no work than doing work that we're actually like just about breaking even or losing money on. I think it's something like at least every agency owner I've ever spoken to, at the start, you'll do that contract for 2,000, which you should have done for 5, and you have to kind of burn your hand to learn that, just have that experience to go, no, this is what things cost. We know, and you do, the further you get in with more operational expertise, just get to a point where you're like, okay, I know almost to the dollar sign how much actually each piece of content costs us to create. So when you're having those negotiations with clients, that there is absolutely a floor you can't go beneath, and probably a ceiling as well. So you just keep within that kind of sweet spot when pitching.
And in terms of then getting that balance right now between, you've got an existing client book that you're servicing, but also wanting to keep your eye on kind of future revenues, future new clients, how do you ascertain what the right balance is between how much you could potentially take on plus how you could service the current client crop?
Oof, yeah. I mean, that's like the core question for agency.
Yeah, riddle me that.
Yeah. I mean, I think you just try to take that 30,000 foot view and get a sense from your team, like, how are these engagements going? I mean, we try to like go through our client roster as a partner team, on like a bi-weekly basis, and just have an honest assessment of how we're doing with each engagement. But at the same time, business development, biz dev doesn't really stop. So, there have been times where like Will tends to handle like our onboarding month with clients, and we've just like slammed him with like 4 clients being onboarded at the same time, and that's just like a really awful time for Will. So we're trying to ease up on that a little bit, and then also like just having that real assessment with your team of like, how are these engagements going? Can we take on another one? I've been in a position in previous agencies where like we haven't taken on that extra work, and it's kind of, particularly around the pandemic, come to bite us in the butt there, and we wish we had, just we could have a fuller roster. So it's kind of there's no like science to it, but I think there could be. Like, I think we're getting to a point where we're getting much more tight with our pricing, and much more connected to like quality reviews and things like that of work. So getting there, but it's still early days.
I think as well, again, like one of the nice things about our model is it's actually a lot easier to very quickly, if you do land 3 clients, the core of what most of what we do is like, design, video, or copywriting. Like, obviously there's a lot more to it than that, but it's, and all 3 of those, we have an extensive list of freelancers on. The management of projects, the content ops side of things. That's why that was the first hire we had. There's quite a lot of capacity in that internal team to add another 5 or 6 clients quickly. The bit that normally agencies struggle with is like, oh crap, how are we going to get a copywriter to be able to handle this? How are we going to get a designer? Whereas obviously that's a process of a Slack message to our pre-vetted list of freelancers, and then that's 80% of the project, the other 20% just being management. Whereas again, if you're kind of in that core, do we have enough business right now to hire a full-time extra designer, a full-time extra copywriter, a full-time, SEO person, it does slow you down a bit. So I think we've been lucky with that kind of flexibility of our model. If we've never felt like when we land 4 new clients that our current roster is suffering. We've always been able to handle it, and we've not seen that bad drop off rate. I think the day me and Paul think we're focusing too much on biz dev is when our clients start complaining, or we start to see a bunch of really low retention, and we just haven't seen it, despite having, as Paul said, had some bloody horrible months where we brought 5 new clients on and just been like, yeah, cool, time to onboard 5 people in one.
I suppose just on that then, both in terms of like dealing with onboarding clients, but also you guys have alluded to obviously having clients in multiple geographies and time zones. So I imagine there's some systems behind the scenes that help you to enable the kind of communication flows or showcasing work, gathering feedback. Are there a couple of tools that you feel give you the ammunition to be able to handle the kind of broad range of clients in multiple areas?
Yeah, I mean, just off the cuff, I mean, Slack is huge just in terms of communication with clients. Asana from project management perspective, Drive for just, all the work is in there, it's stored in there, it's organized in Google Drive, Google Meet, and Zoom for, chats and things like that. I think Asana, like really tightening up our Asana game, has been, more of a game changer for us. And I think we've seen clients appreciate it because it's really clear to them where we are in the project and sort of the flow from left to right in terms of the progress of different pieces of content and things like that. So I think when we're at our best, we're like really using that really well. And it's just really clear what the timeline it is and the deliverables are and things like that for clients. So
yeah, something Paul and the wonderful content ops girl we hired called Naomi talk about. Yeah, she honestly, me and Paul are both utterly love her because she's given us so much of our free time back. I think both of our jobs became about 30 or 40% less stressful as 2 weeks after we hired her. So shout out. Hopefully, remains in the podcast now. But yeah, it's something they both talk about a lot, which that onboarding month is meant to address. And there is a constant process with the clients, is kind of educating clients on how to be good clients. So, when someone emails you something that should be in Asana, going, hey, can we keep this in Asana? Really training them that that's the point of contact, training them how to use the board, because it saves up so much of your time and so much of their time in the long term. If rather than sending that message, that those 30 messages over a month, they just know where they need to look in Asana. They know where they need to look in the Drive folder. It makes things quicker for them and things quicker for us. So there's definitely along with all those tools and systems in place that the world is moving towards post-pandemic, it's really making sure that the clients use them, understand them, and Paul and myself have sort of had moments where he's been like, you need to do a better job of teaching this client how to use Asana, because that's where a lot of the friction's coming from. And, that was something we'd not at least I personally hadn't realized was going to be a large part of that agency work, is, training clients to be good clients.
Yeah. But it sounds things that opening education piece is pretty crucial to a long-term successful working relationship.
When I've messed it up in the past, it has had, if the onboarding isn't done properly, there are further down the line it bites you in the bum.
I think too, like a good client, like kind of wants to be sort of like, helped out or supported into being more organized in terms of their, like a lot of times they're hiring us because they want a content engine, or they want someone to kind of whip them in the shape to kind of, get that work done. And so with a gentle hand, I think they appreciate, that you're just, getting them organized so they can do their best work with you. And if you just frame it that way, they get it. But I think sometimes it's easy to come in thinking that you're the supplicant, because the client is paying you, but really like they've hired you as an expert and they're looking for your expertise and also a process most of the time. So, and real quick, another one I throw out there is Notion. I'm trying to really invest the team in Notion as a tool. And like, just as a executive, like saying things 10 times is way worse than building a page once. Like, for example, our invoicing page, like I was getting so many DMs from people about like how to invoice the agency. And I'm like, look, here it
Mm.
is. It's just on this Notion page. Just follow these directions, please. Don't at me, so
Yeah,
stuff like that.
because that's what I was going to ask on the back office side of things. Obviously, you've got billing on the client side of things, but also there's that freelancer network. So that obviously has lots of different arms and legs. But by the sounds of things, Notion give you a huge amount of flexibility to manage that side of things.
Yeah.
And one thing I thought was really interesting, which you just said there, Paul, was you guys are the subject matter expertise. Because often, I'd say a failing maybe in some agencies is that they take that kind of what's the word I'm looking for, non-superiority complex in terms of like yes, 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 yes. When in actual fact, sometimes it takes a strong hand or a strong voice to talk the client through. Is that something that you kind of drill into your team and your freelancers when engaging with clients?
Yeah, it operates a couple different ways. I think we have a lot of contact between our team, like, our writers, our designers, our project managers will speak directly to the client. And I know in some agency models that's not necessarily the case. You'll have like a client services person doing, most of that. So I think we really try to empower people to manage up or manage across, however you look at it, to the client. And but we're going through stuff right now with like clients who are in different branding projects and they want cycles of revisions and things like that. And you really have to stick to the letter of the contract, but also be human about it and be flexible and offer little extras here and there and things like that. But you have to kind of, especially in creative work, like insist on the integrity of your time and the value of it, because I think a lot of times creatives just get run over roughshod with, hey, you're a freelancer, you're flexible, you can meet at this time, you can do a little extra here, and it's like, no, mate, like this is my job. Like this is, just like yours. If your boss has you come in on a Saturday,
Yeah,
like that sucks and you shouldn't have to. So putting
yeah.
those systems in place and just, I'm always like, what does the contract say? What's it say in Asana? Like, let's go back, which feels weird because, that's sort of not always my style to be like the stickler, but you really realize when you put those systems in place and you work them through that they're there for a reason and they're there to respect your time and the quality and the process. So
I think we were really lucky with Literal Humans that Paul did have that previous agency experience, because I feel we've got to that place probably 2 or 3 years earlier than most other agencies do. We really respect our freelancers and our own time and, just happiness. And, we don't want to be telling, hey, I know that we only paid you £250 for this, 500-word blog post, but here's the 5th round of revisions from the client, and this is now just your problem, and we're not paying you anything for it. You lose all your good talent. It makes you feel terrible because you're kind of ruining someone's day. It's just not worth it. And we've fortunately not had many of these situations, but there have been a couple of times where we've pushed back, been like, these are our processes, and then the client's gone no, and we've gone, okay, well, goodbye. Like, we don't want to work with bad clients who are gonna not respect the processes that we've signed a contract on and make our freelancers' life hell. So you aren't worth the money you're paying us. And that, I think it normally takes people about 5-6 years of running an agency to realize that. Whereas, thanks to Paul's kind of expertise and past experience, I think we got there a couple of years early.
Well, I suppose given what you've gone through so far in terms of launching the agency during the pandemic, picking up initial clients, finding kind of more of your niche, what then does the next 12 months look for you guys in terms of what you could be doing different or how you're going to adapt and grow the business?
yeah, I mean, I think you're catching us at a really interesting time, like about the 1.5 year mark. And so like, I think we're just starting to like lift our heads up and look back and be like, first of all, what the hell just happened? And then second of all, like, how do we grow from that? So yeah, there's that. I mean, I think the thing that I'm excited about, and I think Will's working on some stuff that he can mention, is just as a new-ish agency owner who has a little bit of agency management background, like I'm super interested in how do we move away from just purely trading time for money and maybe building actual products. So we're looking deeper into audio, looking deeper into video, looking into thought leadership and how do we work with executives to produce really great writing that supports, just their name as a thought leader in any industry, but with specific, purpose into, tech for good in the industries we're already playing in. So things that are like a little bit more flexible than just, here's the 4 blog posts we're going to deliver to you each month, for example, and a little bit more exciting as well. Like just where's the market going? Where are the different industries? I'd be keen to niche down in specific tech for good industries. Really love ed tech, really love health tech. I don't think those are going any places. I think they're actually getting bigger as a result of the pandemic. So finding even deeper niches and drilling down a bit.
Yeah, I think the thing I'm most excited for over the next year is as is almost always the case with an agency, we have a bit of a cobbler's shoes situation with kind of our own content and social. We do a blog post a month, but we've been too focused on getting that business to fund. So we haven't built the kind of inbound engine that we have for our clients, which is obviously insane. So I'm very excited to just really build that kind of, awesome content marketing inbound engine, really grow our owned channels, so that we start to see a bit more of, an inbound engine where we, rather than kind of working our butts off to get 5 or 6 leads a week, we kind of have them come in organically from, our own content marketing efforts, which we know work because that's what we do. So super excited for that. I think that's going to be awesome. I was speaking to another agency the other week. They're like, yeah, we get like 15 to 20 inbound leads a week and we pitch twice a month because we only pitch on the things that we absolutely want to do and love. And like that for me is kind of the ultimate end goal is like, yeah, you're only working with clients that blow your mind and you just don't have to try don't have to try anymore, but you've done all the hard graft and you've got that beautiful inbound weekly content engine.
Awesome. I mean, it certainly sounds like you guys are eyes on everything at all times to see how you can make those gains and improvements. I suppose just on behalf of us, thank you so much for coming on. I mean, it's been brilliant to hear kind of how you guys came to be as Literal Humans, but you've really given some amazing nuggets on the kind of trials and tribulations of getting an agency up and running, kind of some of the learnings on kind of products and how you deal with both clients and freelancers. So thanks a mil, guys, for absolutely everything. Such great intel there, and couldn't wish you any more luck with Literal Humans. Hopefully you guys go from strength to strength.
Thank you so much for having us.
Been an absolute pleasure. Thanks so much.